Well, hello. Where does time go? It seems like it's Friday before you know it, and next thing you know, there's a pandemic that is come and gone, and we're going to be going back to AA meetings in person. And I don't know what to say about all of that, but that's what we're going to try to talk about today. But before we get into that, let's say hello to anyone who might be out there in the chat room. I see Joe out there, and there's two other people with him right now. We'll have some others join us pretty soon. And with Angela and me today is Bree, Bicycle Bree. How you doing, Bree?
Well, thank you, John. Thank you, Angela.
It's
Yeah,
nice
it's
to
good to
it's nice
have
to
you.
have you here. Actually, today's topic was Bree's idea. Originally, we thought that Angela might not make it tonight, so I asked Bree to if she would join me. She said, "Yeah." And we said, "What are we going to talk about?" And well, we were already. Hey, Paula. Hey, Laughing Dog, Dale. We were already having a conversation, she and I, about the whole thing about, going back to the whatever we had prior to COVID. I guess that was our reality. And is it really going to be as easy for us as we may have thought it was in the beginning to go back? Have we kind of gotten used to our social distancing lives or or not? It's just, so we just thought we'd talk about whatever we our thoughts might be about returning to whatever reality we're going to have someday. And I know, of course, that this whole thing varies from geographic location, that some areas are suffering badly still from COVID, and not everybody is ready to go out yet. So I understand that as we get into talking about this. Um, but anyway, let's say hello to Angela. Angela, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm glad that I get to be here today. I won't be here next Friday because the dental stuff that I thought I would be doing this week has been postponed till next week. So you guys will have to find some fun stuff to talk about without me.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm doing well, and I think this is an interesting topic and lots of different things
Yeah.
we can talk about it. So I'm excited
Yeah.
about
Well,
that.
it's interesting to see where it's going to go. And Bree, welcome back. How you've been on here once before, and it's good to have you back again. How you doing over there?
I'm doing well, thank you. Just enjoying the day and the heat, you
Yeah.
know?
And you and I were talking not just about COVID, but talking about doing a Serenity bike ride.
Yeah, it's kind of this project I'd had in my head before I moved to Kansas City, actually. It
Uh
was
huh.
like getting some people together, like on a Sunday morning,
Right.
meeting at a coffee house or somewhere, putting together a topic, writing for 45 minutes or something, and then
Right.
having a quick discussion, and maybe even writing up to the KU Med meeting afterwards.
Cool. And I told you that I would do that. But will you, when I have to get off my bike and walk, will you guys walk with me?
We might just ride practice slow riding.
I don't know. Maybe I can do some exercises before then, or maybe I can just tough it out. Who knows?
Yeah,
So
just get started by riding to, a face-to-face meeting.
okay, yeah, that's right. Like yeah, that's another thing we talked about, and we'll see how that goes. We'll talk about it during this episode. But before we get into the episode, let's talk about what's going on tomorrow. Tomorrow at 11.
Tomorrow,
Tomorrow,
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Okay, go ahead.
So tomorrow we're going to have the online Euro ICSA that is going to be held at 11 o'clock a.m. UK time to 11 o'clock p.m. UK time. So that's a huge time that people can come and go as they wish. And I put a link in the chat for the schedule. I'll go ahead and put it in
Mm-hmm.
there again just in case you didn't get it, so that you can go and see what the schedule is and the Zoom rooms and everything like that. But there's going to be two rooms. The Beyond Belief room, donated by the Toronto Beyond Belief group, will hold 500 people, and then the Tusnua room will hold 1,000 people. So we've got plenty of capacity, and we're expecting a pretty good turnout. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah,
But
I'm gonna go to the women's topic from the Stonehenge women group. They're doing a discussion time. I think it's 9 a.m. my time,
cool.
4 p.m. theirs.
Cool.
So people were kind enough to actually make a chart just for me and
Yep.
send it to my email
Yep.
so that I could attend it, because we know how well I do with the time zones. I don't know why, but I just really have a tough time on them. So
Oh, I
yeah, so I'm
know.
excited for that.
Yeah, yeah. These conferences actually, I'm always impressed by what happens there. I mean, there's always the speakers are always great. There's so much talent and enthusiasm in the secular community that I think it's great. I'm glad that we're doing that, and I'm looking forward to the real thing, or the in-person conference, excuse me, that will be taking place in DC. And I'm pretty sure that we'll be doing that. So not pretty sure. I am
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, it's going to
Yeah.
happen.
Well, I mean, barring, some other thing.
Yeah, barring say, who knows?
But
Yes, right. You're right. You're right, Angela.
but
You
yes,
can never say. You can never say absolutely sure.
I
It's
will
good.
not ever say. I mean, I've lived most of my life, using qualifiers, and I'm
Yeah,
just going to
you're
keep
right.
going that route because
Well,
it
you're
seems
smart.
to,
You don't know what's
yeah,
going to happen. What's going to
right.
God knows what.
But my intention is
The
to
intention,
attend
right?
that. Yeah.
Exactly. Same
So
here.
I was
Same here.
actually just looking at tickets the other day
Mm,
on what the price to fly there would be,
mm,
because you had mentioned something about driving there,
I'm going to drive. Yeah.
and I'm like, yeah, I cannot do that from Idaho. That's a long ways. I mean, it would
Yeah.
be cool if I didn't have to work and things like
I
that.
know.
So maybe I'll start up a GoFundMe of
There you
paying
go.
for me to drive across the country. But
Yeah.
otherwise, I'm looking forward to that. I've never been to DC, and there's so many people that I'm looking forward to meeting after this year, particularly,
Hmm.
that I've gotten to know and who are planning to be there. So
Yeah.
that's exciting as well.
Yeah.
So
All
we're going
right.
to do a live podcast from there, right?
We
Well,
will. We will.
Friday is gonna happen
Yeah.
during, that, so we might as
Yeah.
well
May as
plan
well
for
do it right
that.
then and there. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So absolutely, yes, we will be doing that. I brought my podcasting equipment to the last one. I don't know if I actually did an episode there, or did I? I don't know what I
I
did.
don't think you did. I think you
No.
were hiding out, just
I was
recording
hiding.
things.
I was absolutely
Yeah.
hiding. I was hiding in plain sight. I was talking to Joe about that. I was keeping myself busy recording everything, but I did have my table all set up with my microphone on it, and I just sat there for a little bit sometimes. Oh
Yeah.
Oh,
I
boy.
know everybody thinks that we're like good friends, that we've known each other a long time, and I'm like, well, I did meet him at
Yeah, we actually
Toronto,
met.
but it was just kind of like, hi, and he's like, thank you, and thank you group for sending me money, and I'm like, you're welcome, and that was kind of it.
And we probably met in Santa Monica even before that. I'm
Yes, yeah.
sure.
Well, I do know that I met Joe because I bought a book from Joe, I think, and he signed it there, and then I
Yeah.
bought some more later. But yeah, so I know Joe from there, and I met Dorothy there,
Mm-hmm.
and Pam, and Glenn, and those are
That's right.
the only people I think that I met at that one, because I was hiding out too.
Yep.
I'm pretty shy. That was
I
one
am
of the things
too.
that I wanted to talk about on this. Was
Exactly.
I'm
That's
like,
what I'm
how
thinking.
many extroverts do we have? If you're really an extrovert, you need to call in tonight and talk to us
Yeah.
about how you feel about the reopening and going to meetings and stuff,
Yep.
because one of, I think, my difficulties is that I'm just more introverted, and so it's a little bit difficult for me. I haven't gone to an in-person meeting yet.
That's
They've
what I was
been
wondering.
happening, but I can't, get myself to do it yet.
You think it's going to be difficult for you to get back to going to an in-person meeting again?
I do. I think,
Yeah.
my own meeting, the one I own, no,
Mm-hmm.
my home group, I think will be different because I know the people there, and the general group consensus and mindset is that they will be doing things according to whatever guidelines, are present. So if the Unitarians want us to do spacing out, 6 feet apart, or sanitation, tables, hand sanitizer, all that stuff, we'll do all of that stuff. But there are quite a few meetings that are going on that I think are just exactly as they were before, and I'm not. My mind hasn't shifted enough yet to be okay with that. I still get a little bit weird, even with, people I know who've been vaccinated, like hugs. I'm like, are we supposed to hug yet? Are we supposed to, shake hands? Do we just like look at each other and wave? I'm not sure. So I'm having some trouble adjusting to it.
It's very
Definitely.
weird. It's very weird. So like, I guess the CDC here says that if you've been vaccinated, you can walk around basically without a mask, right? I guess that's
Mm-hmm.
the rules, right? And so,
Yes.
and it's weird though. And so like I will typically wear a mask like if I go to a grocery store or something. And the other day I went to the pharmacy and I was wearing a mask and the damn pharmacists, they weren't wearing masks. Nobody was wearing
Right.
masks but me. So I went ahead and took it off. But for me, I still have the social stigma about mask wearing, so that if I see other people wearing the mask, I think I have to wear it, And if I, it's just weird for me, that whole mask thing. So I'm not
Mm-hmm.
yet comfortable being maskless with other people who have masks, if that makes sense. But it's just kind of a strange, bizarre
Yeah.
thing. I don't
Well,
know.
I think too. I think it's shifting somewhat to my understanding. I haven't been
Mm.
to Asia, but a lot of people there would wear
That's
masks.
right.
It wasn't unusual to see
That's
some
right.
people wearing masks and some people not,
That's right.
and that oftentimes if people were either feeling a little ill or
Yep.
if they felt that they were vulnerable for whatever reason, they'd wear a mask, and so it
Yep.
became not a huge deal. And so
Right.
I'm thinking that it's going to be like that too, because
Yep.
around here, people aren't wearing masks in grocery stores unless it's one that requires it.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that I'm still doing it. Jonathan doesn't, but that I tend to get sick easier than
Yeah.
Jonathan just in general. And so I've found that I prefer to wear them in depending on the type of store, particularly if it's a store with low ceilings and somewhat crowded space or whatever.
Yeah.
If I'm in Costco, then not so much. Also at the pool, I swim at a public pool,
Mm.
and so I usually wear the mask because they ask us to, as you're going in and
Mm-hmm.
getting, in your spot and stuff. They've
Mm-hmm.
put it where it's a restricted number of people and restricted areas and everything, but that's because children, still are not able to get vaccinated yet, and so it's more of a, trying to be considerate of young
Yeah.
people as well. And
Yeah.
so those are working out okay. It's just with AA that I haven't quite got there
Mm.
yet,
I
and
hear you.
our facility isn't opened up yet, so
Okay.
I still have the opportunity to put it off for a while.
Yeah. Hey, Bree, what's happening in Kansas City? Because I have absolutely no idea. I'm still hiding.
Uh, well, of course, as you go southwest into the Kansas suburbs, the masks are off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you go into the stores out there, or whatever. You don't see a lot of masks. But as you go further north and east,
Mm.
into Kansas City proper, and in the Missouri side, the masks reappear at the grocery stores and
Right.
drugstores, and that's pretty much where I hang out: grocery stores and
So,
drugstores.
have you gone back to? We're having our meetings. We're having our in-person meetings again, and I've only been to one when we first started going back. And at that time, we were masking, but now I think they're not. What's going? Have you been to a face-to-face meeting yet?
I made one, and we just had three of us. It was Kane and
Mm.
another gentleman and I, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and there were just three of us there. And it was like the first or second week
Yep.
we were ready, and it was still, the mask and social distancing stuff. I haven't been able to attend the face-to-face meetings
Yeah.
that we've had so far,
Yeah.
but I do know that our attendance is down quite a bit on our
Yes.
face-to-face,
In the
which kind of
face-to-face.
surprised me.
Yeah, I know. I know. When we first went into social distancing and meeting online, at the very beginning, and at that time I was actually going to the meetings too. But in the very beginning, we thought, okay, we're going to do this for a little while. And we can't wait to get back together again. And now, as it seems like we're kind of returning to some sort of normalcy, we're finding that people are staying online and not necessarily going to the face to face meetings. And who knows why? Maybe we're still not completely 100% comfortable with the face to face.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe people don't know yet that we're meeting in person now. Who knows? And so it might just take longer than we ever thought to get back to where we were, if we ever get back there. You know?
Yeah, I think there's just quite a few adjustments that that we're going to need to go through regarding all of our stuff. I have a friend who's an ICU nurse, and she had bought tickets to like a contemporary dance theater event, and that they had billed it as, people would be sitting at picnic blankets and stuff. And so it would be outdoors, and then some of the ordinances changed here. And so you could have more people in a shorter space, but they didn't really tell everybody that. And so they got there and people were like smashed up against each other, so you were on a blanket, but your knees were touching, your feet were touching the people in front of you because you were smushed in there. And she actually had a mild panic attack, which she doesn't normally have because she's an ICU nurse, so she can deal with a lot of stress. But all she could see in her mind were all of these people and COVID and not being able to breathe and her having to take care of them in the ICU. Wow. So she had to leave. And so I think that there's some of those things that we'll need to consider as well, that there's some trauma that's happened for a lot of people in a lot of different ways. So that one's kind of blatant with healthcare. It seems pretty obvious to me that we're going to need to take some care with people who've seen some things that the rest of us didn't see because we were in our house. But yeah, so there's that, and I think that it'll be easier. I know some groups are meeting outside, and so I think that's a good first step while it can happen. So meeting in the morning and meeting outside is probably a good thing. And then, transitioning that way. I think some of us have become much more awkward. Some of us were awkward before, of course, but I think, awkward and just being around people again, because we got out of practice, and we've had all of this stuff thrown at us in the last year. So not only COVID stuff to be concerned about, but the increased polarization and just there's been a lot that it's hard to pay attention. The whole world has
changed so much, or how we work, how we live, how we deal with how we communicate. Everything has changed, and then our society is been going through an upheaval as well. So it's really been tumultuous. Joe M says that he's changed as far as what he's willing to tolerate at a meeting anymore, and that secular meetings have changed him. And see, Joe's experience, and Joe, I think I'm right on this, that you didn't really have you don't have secular AA meetings where you live. So you had the benefit during this COVID problem of being able to attend secular meetings online. And now, having experienced that, like a lot of other people, you don't want anything to do with any sort of a traditional meeting anymore. And I'm that way. I stopped going to traditional meetings back in 2014 for the most part. Joe says correct. And I can't hardly stand them either. I've been to a handful here and there, but not many. So you're probably not alone, Joe. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who discovered secular AA meetings during this time who are probably going to stay online if they don't have the secular meetings in their community, or maybe hopefully they'll start a secular AA meeting in their community if they can.
I think that's a real common thing, though, John. When you're in those meetings and you're in those online meetings and you get one of those decade counters or somebody with real long sobriety, and they come in as into a secular AA for like the first time or the third time, they're almost in tears. And they're almost like a newcomer. You kind of have to let them ramble a little bit beyond the 3-minute part.
You do.
Because they're just like so overjoyed they found it. It's really heartwarming,
It is, isn't it? See, we got that when we first started the group too. We'd have that a lot. People that said, and they'd come in and they'd say, "Oh God, I stopped coming to AA in 1985 or whatever because people were mean or whatever. I don't know, whatever the problem was." But
I think it's mostly the 90s when people started getting mean.
Maybe it was the 1990s, yes. Anyway, yes. But Angela, you hit on something that I've been thinking about me personally. The way that I am, and I know I'm totally not unique, but so I'm uncomfortable I'm uncomfortable socially. I'm uncomfortable around people. Believe it or not, I am. I'm not an an extrovert. I'm. It's really difficult for me. If I have to say, for example, do something like go to a cocktail party at work, which I have to do sometimes, and I'm not drinking a cocktail, obviously, but other people
Mhm.
are, and I'm there mingling. But the most difficult part of it to me is not the drinks and stuff, but it's having to do the small talk with people,
Mhm.
and it's so difficult. But I had, I knew that I had to get. Hi, Jackie. But I knew I had to get beyond that. I knew I had to work through it. I knew I had to. Um, I knew I had to try my best or whatever. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that I got the benefit of working through that kind of stuff, working through my awkward social problems or whatever, when I could. And it was something that was probably healthy for me. But then when they came out and when everybody says stop socializing, stop being around people, that's
Mhm.
kind of like my natural kind of a thing to do, not always a healthy thing,
Mhm.
and so I did that very well. I was in a little cocoon, quite comfortable in that cocoon, and I'm finding that getting out of that is not as easy as I ever might have thought it might be. But saying that out loud, I'm thinking, well, all I have to do is push myself and work through it as I would do if I was at a party at work. Is that your phone, Bree?
Sorry.
It's okay. There's Joe Bob. Joe Bob says, skip the small talk, go to medium or large talk. They'll adjust to your level. Thank you. Well,
Mhm.
I keep telling the same story, and I'm not going to tell it again. But that you're right about that, Joe Bob. I actually had that experience once where I was at this thing mingling, and I just couldn't stand it, and there was just a lot of shit going on. And then when I came back later, actually had some meaningful conversation, which was nice. It was nice. I can do that if you're actually talking about something that's interesting and you have something to say, I guess. Yeah. But if it's just a small talk stuff where I don't know, that kind of stuff is kind of weird. But I know what you're saying, Joe Bob. I really do.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We need Jackie to call in because Jackie's an extrovert, and yeah, we need to hear how an extrovert is thinking about the
You can call Jackie. Our
yeah,
number, you've got it there. It's 844-899-8278.
reopening and going to in-person meetings and stuff, and until she does,
We'll just talk.
what I was thinking about what you were saying is that yeah, I think that AA does make it easier going to AA meetings, not because of what we talk about in the meeting, but the socializing before and
Yeah.
after.
Yeah.
It makes it easier because you know that you have at least one thing in common with the people there,
Yeah.
and because it's a emotional type of mental health, all of
Yeah.
that kind of
Right.
stuff issue, which is different than when you're dealing with either work colleagues or something like that. You're supposed to have a different persona, and so it makes it a little more difficult. I've found, and I learned this from my partner actually. I mean, he's much more quiet than I am, so he's super quiet. He'll
Hmm.
just sit there in the silence and awkwardness
Oh.
when somebody's there. So I'm the one who has to, try to make it less awkward by saying something, awkward.
That's me.
But yeah. But one of the things that he does, though, or that he's learned to do, is that when people start talking about something, even if it's small talk, like, yeah, we planted some tomatoes this year in our garden, he'll be like, what kind of tomatoes and how long have you planted them? And, and he'll ask stuff regarding what they're already talking about. So they just keep talking.
Yeah.
And that works pretty well, I must say.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's tips I will take with me next time I have to engage in that kind of stuff. But when you talk about the meeting before the meeting, I do enjoy that. When I was my first year or so, I did not. I came just when the meeting started and left as soon as it ended for a while when I was really new. But now I like that. I like that part now of hanging out before the meeting. I always get there early when I go to meetings. I just enjoy that part. It's my favorite part of the meeting now. So
Yeah, and it's part that I miss
yeah,
because that is the one thing with with the Zoom is that there is the opportunity for that, but that seems more awkward to do that. Yeah, before or after, it just doesn't quite seem the same.
Different because if you're in a room with somebody live, you can make the eye contact and you're there together and okay, I'm looking at you. Oh, here's someone calling. It's Jackie. I bet you we'll take the call. Hello, caller.
Oh my God. You crack me up. Look, Angela is the boss of me. Okay. So she tells me to call, I call.
So Jackie, we want to know, we needed an introvert or an extrovert to talk to us about how you feel about things opening up and going to AA meetings, or, just in general, how are you feeling about how things are reopening? Because most of us are still a little bit timid.
Well, I think I'm going to blow your mind, maybe, but I remember. So I work at an inpatient treatment center, so we all got vaccinated pretty early. I think it was like January, and so I think it was like April. My boss, I don't really have a boss, but he's the vice president, so whatever. But he invited us over to his house for dinner, small gathering, 4 of us, and I was like, damn, I don't have an excuse anymore. I didn't like it. Like, I just liked being like, oh, I'm not comfortable going out. But he knew that we'd all been vaccinated since January, and the CDC said it was perfectly fine for us to gather.
Damn them.
So, yeah, exactly. So that was the first thing. And then I just remembered thinking, like, I don't know that I like this. I mean, I didn't love being completely isolated, of course. And then the meetings thing happened where, like, I got involved with you guys. You guys, brainwashed me and brought me into the secular world. And I was so excited. I was like on fire for secular AA. But then this crazy thing happened where, like, I realized that some of this dogmatism followed its way into the damn secular rooms. And so I've been really irritated lately. Like, I just can't handle it. I mean, I think Angela knows exactly what I'm talking about. And I don't know. So I never went to a ton of in-person meetings. I mean, I did early on. I've been sober for, as long as you.
That's right.
A long time. And so to be completely honest, which again, this might sound weird coming from an extrovert, which of course no one can tell because I'm so shy right now, but is that early on, first 5 years, boom, I was in meetings all the time, service work, traveling, blah, 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 road tripping. I was 26, young, single, whatever. But then, since my 5th year, I would say I haven't gone to meetings more than I have. Now, that doesn't mean I don't have a really solid group of AA people in my life, that have known me a really long time. And we do things, and, I'll go if someone's celebrating or if I'm asked to speak or something like that. But I've mainly only gone to my home group meetings, I don't know. Meetings don't do it for me, guys. I don't know. A lot of times I leave an AA meeting feeling worse than I did when I got there.
Yeah. Jackie, I wonder if I might be kind of, I don't know. Well, we change over time, and I certainly have changed a lot. When we first started our group in KC, I was on fire. I just loved what was happening, to watch the group grow, to watch people discover this new way of having an AA meeting without the God, and watching people get better. It was just so exciting, and I loved it, and I always look forward to seeing people. But that kind of, after a while, we've been doing this for a while now, and after a while that I changed. I was not quite that way anymore. And then after COVID, I really, I was initially doing the, just for a short period of time, doing the Zoom meetings, but after a while, I pretty much stopped those too. And then my whole AA recovery life was just this kind of stuff, talking to people, not during a meeting, but just talking to AA people about other stuff. Like, I'm doing a podcast, or we're doing a conference, or, stuff like that. And so I always feel like I'm connected to the fellowship, but I'm not just in an AA meeting. And I wonder if I'm going to be kind of like that myself. I don't know. Part of me says I really need to go back to these meetings. I really need to see my friends. I really need to help out with the group, blah, blah, blah. And then I wonder sometimes, but do I? I don't know. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. And that doesn't mean I don't like still work,
I
take
know.
people through the steps. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been really lucky to have a home where I love just gathering people here and people are comfortable and, they've gone through lots of stuff on my sofa. And so I do feel like I'm connected and I do service work. I just don't think I do it in the traditional way.
No, I hear you.
And again, I love my home group. I love my secular home group. And I do think if we actually go in person that most of that base isn't dogmatic, but there have been a couple of people who show up and say the same thing every week. And it's all that stuff that I kind of tried to unprogram myself from regular AA.
Is it like, what is it, step stuff or telling people they need to do a step or something?
No.
That kind of dogma?
Not even that. It's basically, sometimes when people just say the same exact thing every single time they get called on.
Right.
And it's that, I've gone to 3,000 meetings this week and that makes me feel really great.
Right.
And that's great. That's great that makes you feel great. But I think sometimes if I was a newcomer and I've heard that you have 102 years recovery and you still, the way you find joy is going to 300 meetings a week, I would shoot myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. That doesn't offer me hope as a newcomer or an old comer.
Yeah.
So, but I get that that's what people need, but why say it every single time? I don't know. So that's just me being incredibly judgmental. And guess what? I'm allowed to be.
No, I hear you. We actually, I wonder though, as I get older, if I'm going to be doing that. I keep repeating the same thing. I'm kind of finding myself.
Oh God, John, I hope not. I'll tell you. Angela, can we make a pact to tell John if he starts doing that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I already told John, today why I don't like doing the live, having us on there. Yeah, because he's been doing that lately, which he likes to do, but I don't like to do it because I think that it's hard to, take seriously because you're looking at the screen, you're looking at comments people are making, and so it's kind of weird to just look at somebody who's looking at something else. I mean, if you were baking a cake or showing us how to do a mocktail or something, then I'd totally be for having video. But otherwise, I find it distracting, and I find for me it's distracting because then I'm thinking about what people are looking at me, thinking, and what people are saying and stuff like that. So
I actually put out a video of me. This is really kind of freaky. If you watch it, it's me answering. Okay, I'm giving a talk, but all you see is me. Okay, I'm talking, and then when I'm done talking, people are asking me questions, but you don't see the people asking the questions. You just see me answering. It just seems kind of, it's just kind of weird. It's like a documentary or something. It's just kind of weird. But yeah, I hear what you're saying, Angela. It is kind of different, and you wonder, does anybody get any value out of actually seeing my face? I don't know if they do or not. I don't think so. Probably not.
Yes, I do.
Well, I think they do because they kind of put a face to the voice.
What'd you say, Bree?
I think they do because they put a face to the voice.
Oh, okay.
And it's kind of like, what is that? Conan Needs a Best Friend, that podcast. You see their faces as they talk, and sometimes people call in.
Yeah.
Things like that. And I rather enjoy that.
You like that? Oh,
and it's not like you're not photogenic, John.
Well, I don't know.
right, John.
Oh, thank you. That's very nice of you to say. But, of course,
and
we're
so
always.
Is Angela.
Oh, she is absolutely. Anyway, we'll probably.
I don't think so, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We'll keep it. Anyway,
you guys. The other thing is, I want to be clear that just because somebody brings something to a meeting that bugs me, that doesn't mean they don't have every right to bring it to a meeting. But I have every right to stop going. And it's like what we're going to do at my home group, though, because I'm not the only one feeling this way, is we're going to kind of take a page out of the Boise home group, Angela's home group, where the person who is like the secretary or who's like kind of running the meeting chooses the format. So like right now, the person who's doing that in Boise kind of calls on people, which is nice because the same people aren't just volunteering or getting called on in like a popcorn or a round robin. And so I think there are ways to kind of interrupt some of this, which is really great. And then at the group conference level, we can do that. So, and I'm grateful. I mean, and Angela says this a lot, you know, that when we first kind of shut down and people were like, oh my God, I'm going to get drunk if I can't go to a meeting. And, you know, like, I'm so glad I don't have that kind of sobriety.
Right.
I can get frustrated, and I can find other ways to deal with my, you know, substance use disorder, my whatever you want to call it, right? I don't, it's like, if I get mad and don't go to a meeting, I'm not going to get drunk or do drugs. You know, I'm going to take a run or meditate or whatever, or call into this podcast. So, but I can't wait to go to Boise and hopefully Kansas City. And I mean, I have been traveling a lot more, like just really, you can't keep me home. I just want to be out and about. So in that way, I'm excited that things are opening up, and maybe again, because I have been vaccinated for so long.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
it's a game changer for sure, that vaccination, but it's still kind of weird. Like I was telling, you know, it's like, I don't know. It's kind of strange. We do have some comments to read here. Joe says that folks bring what they have known. It takes time for us to untangle old lifelines. It's almost always like folks are bringing bait into secular meetings and on Facebook pages. I don't react anymore usually to the bait. Facebook, the Facebook group is a whole different thing where you will occasionally have people that just want to stir shit up, I guess. Dale says, I was shocked to find out that a group I attended regularly had never stopped doing the face-to-face meetings. And I know that there have been groups around here that are like that too. Apparently only a few of them wore masks. Yeah, I know. Well, you know, the state of Missouri is actually one of the states that have an increasing rate of COVID and has a low rate of vaccination. So there's a lot of so this state, you know, like where I'm at right now, I think that most of us in the city have been vaccinated, but when you get out in the state at large, it's not very well vaccinated for whatever reason. So here in this state, people are still getting sick. And that's the way it is, I guess.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Angela, do you want me to say anything else? What else do you want me to say?
You're free to go if you would like. I dismiss you now. No,
I
just I just know that that the three of us. Well, I know that Joe or John and I are introverts, and Bree, can talk about bicycling. So I thought that we should probably bring somebody on that is a true extrovert that will talk to anyone about anything for any amount of time. And so we needed that perspective. So we needed you.
I don't need to go to meetings to do that. I do that at the grocery store.
No, that's what I mean. So that works also, just as well.
Yep. Exactly. But I am having what came out of our secular meeting is also a Sunday morning meditation group we do on Zoom. And there's some local folks and some that are a couple hours away. And we're going to have a cookout and a couple weekends at my house. And so I am doing more of that stuff. And I do love that. And I do love, I mean, really, my best people in my life are all in recovery in some way.
Yeah. And I do think, think that's interesting. Because I know that that is something that I've been doing more, is going on walks or having people to, my backyard patio for lunch, some things like that. People from my recovery community, sometimes people, that I've just been friends with for a long time. But particularly I'm engaging, I think, with my recovery community in a different way, like more one-on-one than I did before COVID. Like I'd see them every week. And so I think I might have, just kind of taken that for granted, that I see them every week and sometimes we text or things like that. And that was fine. But now that, I don't see them in person every week, since we've been able to, start meeting again, we're going on walks and having lunch and doing things. And so I'm really enjoying that. So I think I might be moving more into a Jackie style of recovery with that.
Well, I'm serious about going on bike rides with Bree too. I think that's a really good idea. I used to actually do that with another friend in the program. We just go on bike rides, me, him, and another program guy every Sunday, and I loved it. It was good for me to be with them and also to get the exercise. So Bree, you've got me on that one. I'm going to try not to. I won't
thank you.
I won't chicken out. but you have to walk with me if I have to walk part of the way.
We'll get one of those tow traps like we have, for the kids. We'll just tow you behind.
Okay, well that's nice of you.
Or there's the hybrid bikes.
And then
those are pretty popular.
Yeah,
and post that. Bree, post that on the Facebook group.
Well, someone else has to do the Facebook. I'm not allowed on there, so.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
But
All right.
well,
Thank you, Jackie. It was nice to hear from you.
Thanks for asking me to call in. I love calling.
It's wonderful to hear from you. It's good to have a caller. Goodness gracious. So nice to hear from you. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye,
So,
Jackie.
Joe says that Boise is in the top 20 cities, but for what? What are they in? What are they the top? What are they in the top 20 for?
For guns.
For guns?
No,
I thought for militias.
No,
no, that's the state as a whole.
Okay.
But no, Boise is the fastest growing city in the country.
Is it really?
And housing prices have gone up 500% in a year and a half. Yeah, so it's like you can't buy anything for basically less than $500,000 around here now. Yeah, it's really, really bad. And then there's been a bunch of articles that Silicon Valley's moving here, and things like that, because it is low crime rate, and cost of living was low. You could buy a house cheap, but like my sister has had to buy a house 3.5 hours away because she couldn't afford to buy one here, and she's lived here all her life. So there is a huge amount of growth here. So we are
lifestyle and growth.
Yeah, we're one of the biggest, and with the pandemic, we're less populated. So a lot of people from highly populated places have been moving here because there's a lower population, and that a lot of companies now aren't requiring people to go back to an actual office to work. And so if you can work from home anywhere, then people are moving to places where they have a more balanced quality of life. Like here, if you're into skiing, it's only a half hour, 45 minutes to ski during the winter, and we have foothills, we have whitewater rafting, we have all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of stuff to do here, if you're active and things. But yeah, it's growing
I didn't know that.
faster than expected, and but it is Boise is to Idaho what Austin is to Texas. And so that's the one thing to kind of remember, is that if you come with your Tesla, make sure that you aren't trying to do
that's how
road trip
everywhere. I don't care where you are. I don't care if you're in Ontario or if you're in Alabama or if you're in New York or wherever. If you live
Missouri,
in the country, Missouri, the cities are one way, and it's city mouse and country mouse type thing. So that's the way it is. Laughing Dog says the pandemic allowed us to see a whole different side to people. And that's kind of in relation to Dale's comment that he is not so sure if he wants to go back to that group where that nobody was ever wearing masks, because it makes him wonder, what the hell?
Yeah, and I agree. And that's been something that I've struggled with, because there were a couple of groups that were, more on the traditional side that I'd still go to once in a while. One of them was a women's group, and they continued, some of them to meet year round. And so it made me feel uncomfortable, like that, that I took it personally, like they didn't care about my, health if they weren't doing the things that needed to be done. And so it's work that I've had to do on myself, and I can understand them better now and why they think that. But again, it goes to more of the dogma that they are, truly believe that if they are not in the presence of another alcoholic in some sort of a meeting type way, that they're going to drink again. And I'm not in that mindset. And so trying to reconcile, what I might have to offer a person like that and what they might have to offer me in a group setting is something that I'm still working on. Should I continue or go back once those meetings open up? To before the pandemic, I felt a strong pull, I think, to show up to some of the somewhat more tolerant traditional meetings, just so that there was the secular presence, and so that newcomers, who attended would know that they're not alone in their thoughts about higher power or lack thereof, etc. But now I'm not sure that's where I should be placing my energy, or how much energy I should be placing in that direction. I'm feeling like maybe I need to be placing it in a different direction. And, some of it has to do with just, trying to reconcile my mindset with that stuff. And some of it is that now that we have all these meetings online, I don't feel so much like I have to make sure everybody knows the good news of secular AA. Like I'm less of a bleeding deacon for secular AA.
I hear you.
So because it's out there and a lot of people know about it, and those who contact me that haven't heard about it, there are resources that I can give them, so many more now. So one, I don't have to sponsor every woman that's in my area who's atheist, agnostic, or a free thinker, and I don't have to guide everyone through the steps, or take them to meetings, because I can give them links and resources to where they can find that. And so I think that it's going to be a shift for me, and I'm still trying to decide what is the right path for me now.
Man, I don't think you're alone either. I think that as a lot of people are going to be like that. Dale says that he's in no hurry going back to face-to-face meetings because he wants to know that the majority of people have been vaccinated before he's comfortable being around people again. And I bet you that's going on here too. I'm sure there's a lot of people, Bree, in our or in our group that probably aren't going because they just aren't comfortable yet. They just aren't comfortable yet with the virus.
Yeah. Well, and for me, part of the consideration, like I mentioned before, is that I do tend to have a slightly sensitive immune system, and like I get the flu shot every year, and I oftentimes still get the flu. It's just a much milder version of the flu, but I still generally get it. And this year, I don't think that I did. And I think a big part of that was masks, everyone wearing masks. And so I think that my lifestyle is most likely going to include wearing masks more often than I did, prior to the pandemic, which, I don't think I ever did. I'm trying to think, did I?
And washing your hands too,
Right.
When I was growing up, I grew up, we had farms, right? My grandparents both did. And you come in from every time you came in, my grandmother would say, make sure you wash your hands. And it finally dawned on me later this year that they had both lived through the pandemic.
That's right.
And they were just death on it.
Caller.
I mean, they were just hard on that. I mean, and then my mother was, until we got to be toddlers, and they couldn't keep up with us.
Bree.
But at grandma's house, by God, you wash your hands, so you got the switch.
Bree, we got a caller. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Sure.
But let's see, who's this? Hello.
Hey, this is Al from Vero Beach.
Yeah, Al from Vero Beach. And you know what? The software that I'm using has been improved, and it tells me you are Al from Vero Beach. I can start saying that from now on. It is. I didn't even have to ask, but I was afraid to say, and now we have Al from Vero Beach because, it could have been wrong. So.
Man, my cover's been blown. Here we go.
All right, Al. So what's up?
Great topics, great discussion tonight. Yes, I went back to a couple of face-to-face meetings, and the first one, it changed the format a little. It was living sober, and the topic was easy does it. Boring. Next meeting was the typical format here: speaker for 20 minutes, and then discussion. It was God, and God. The person that even asked the person to speak was the voice of God actually asked the speaker to speak.
Oh, really?
I'm going, holy shit! I thought the guy was an alcoholic. What the fuck?
What?
Yeah.
What, God spoke at the meeting?
Apparently God's an alcoholic.
Yeah, that's
So
what I said. He's here. Wow.
that makes a lot more sense,
But
though, if
anyway,
you think
was
about it.
And what the feeling I got, and it might be, I don't know how correct this is, but the meetings were actually, you got the feeling it was rigid and really regimental type bullshitting, even worse.
Yeah.
I think with the Zoom meetings that I go to, they're all discussion meetings. And you get a lot of people in there in our meeting, different views and different stuff. And what surprised me most of all, I got to know the people in the Zoom meetings really well.
So it sounds like you
never met
prefer
them in person.
You prefer the Zoom meeting?
But I know them.
Do you prefer the Zoom
I
meeting?
do.
You do. What about you,
I
Bree?
really do.
Bree, do you prefer the Zoom meetings to face-to-face meetings, or
Wow,
different for you?
that's a hard. I don't think. No, in some ways I do. I like the green, right? We're not starting up a lot of carbon spears to get to a meeting. That going to any length thing, I can remember walking to meetings because my pickup broke down or whatever. I needed to get to meeting and be able to, fire up a machine and punch a few buttons and hit a meeting is just invaluable to me, because I need that connection. I'm one of those alcoholics. I found if I get too far away from it, I have strayed away, and gone to I did 12 meetings in 12 months for a long time, or another one meeting a month is how I did it in my teen years. And I don't think it was really good serenity, And so I found that these Zoom meetings, I can make a meeting when I want to or when I need to. And, but I really do miss that human connection of the face-to-face meetings, the hugs and the meeting before the meeting, the meeting after the meeting, and, the coffees. Sometimes we go for coffees afterwards, or the Sunday mornings meetings, we'd have pizza afterwards.
Yeah.
And that, it's connection is the opposite of addiction, as our friend Stephen B. so eloquently says, when he leads the meetings, and I kind of believe that. So,
but Al, do you have secular meetings where you live? And face to face? You don't. Okay. Okay.
No secular. What I have to agree with the other fellow there. It's the same reason I went to school. It's a social time. It was social hour, for going to the meetings. I like the before and the after.
Yeah.
I did, and I have a lot of longtime friends that still go to meetings, and I will go to meetings, just for that simple reason. I'm not going to drink if I don't go to meetings.
Yep.
I can Zoom meetings when I feel like it.
Dale says that he lived in Hobe Sound for a long time. He said that there's a great secular Zoom meeting from Stewart that you might want to go to sometime. Stewart.
I could make that. That's sort of I could do that.
Yeah.
I'll check that out.
He says it's a Zoom. He says it's on Zoom.
And I can kind of see.
Zoom. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can kind of see where what will eventually evolve. Perhaps it's like some of these, in the less populated areas, they could have a meeting once a week. Like on a Saturday or a Sunday, a secular meeting. And I think a few of our members in our group are planning to do that. Have a few secular, once a meet. I know some people in Montana are talking about it.
Oh, you mean people that go to the online meeting who aren't from KC but from other areas are going to start meetings in their areas?
Yes.
That's cool.
Yes, and I kind of see that kind of as an offshoot of this as we open up and people become more comfortable and become more vaccinated. I see a huge void, for people for secular AA. And I think the face-to-face meetings will come eventually.
Well, I see just from this conversation, thinking about it, that we also might be evolving to doing I could see our home group doing a Zoom meeting online and then doing social stuff together outside that aren't actual meetings. So instead of meeting, at a Unitarian fellowship for AA, we just do our Zoom meeting online and then maybe get together for picnics or for, gatherings or going bowling or, all of that kind of stuff. So that may be part of the evolution too, is that the meetings, some of them may stay online because it's more of a controlled format, and where everyone's paying attention or, pretending to, or, feeding their cat, whatever. But they're engaged in the computer for an hour. And then doing the social stuff, which Jackie had mentioned, is so much, more of what her sobriety is about these days is the interaction, the one-on-one or the group, having a sober fellowship, a sober community, that's more important at where she's at in recovery. And I could definitely see that being, the direction that I would likely be going in as well. Whereas, I have my main meeting each week that I go to on Zoom, and then I'm gathering with people outside and possibly, planning to have a barbecue type thing for the secular people in my area in a couple months.
Yeah. We do a Wednesday old crusty bastards meeting. It's all AA guys, and we have lunch at different restaurants, but we never talk about AA. It's always something else.
Yeah.
And it's just a social lunch, and it really fulfills a lot of my needs. So I could Zoom and do that. Period.
So Al, you don't really feel like that you're not uncomfortable with the adjustment of going from a COVID existence to a post-COVID existence? That isn't really an issue for you?
The issue for me is secular.
Yeah, versus the God thing. Yeah.
The COVID thing, I'm over it. I've had 2 shots since February.
Yeah.
All the old people here have shots.
Yeah.
But aren't you like the youngest of the old people in your meeting?
Well, at 75, I'm sort of, I might be. No, most are in their 70s,
Okay. Dale has put some information for the meeting in the chat if you want to look at it later. He put the first
Absolutely.
ID he gave was wrong, but he put the right one in there now. So anyway.
Okay, no problem.
Anyways, well, thanks for calling out. It was really nice to hear from you.
Well, thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Next time you call in, I'll say, and now it's Al from Vero Beach.
Hey, man, enjoy. Talk to you later.
Take care. Take care.
Bye.
Yep.
Well, there we go. So time has really gone by. I don't know. I guess we did a pretty good job covering this whole thing. It's a weird, in my opinion, it's just kind of a weird interim period that we're going through right now. And like I say, and it depends where you live, where things are, and depends on a lot of different things, some people don't even believe there is a, it's just really bizarre. And that, whatever your reality bubble is, and then whatever,
I like that
reality bubble.
Well, that's true. And it changes the way, it seemed before COVID that, the main friction that we had in AA was like between, thumpers and, secular people and stuff. And then now there's a lot of little things that make it difficult to share, recovery with each other, which is sad. But, and it seems that it's, bringing about lots of different solutions, lots of different changes and ways of being in recovery. And so, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, so tomorrow morning, it's hotter than hell here. It's like in the hundreds. Is it like in the hundreds, Bree?
Yes, 101 when I got home today.
It was 101 freaking degrees here.
Crazy,
and then you throw some nice humidity on top of that. This is what we're doing. Did you go for a bike ride today though?
Yes.
See, goddamn. See, I'm gonna do that too. I'm gonna go out in the heat. I'm gonna
You
ride my
guys
bike.
are crazy.
I used to. And anyway, Joe Bob wants to know what a thumper is. A thumper is somebody who it's like a Bible thumper. You're thumping
Yeah.
that big book and you're saying that
Yeah.
this is
Big
the
buck
way.
truckers.
This is the way. It's the only way. You got to read the first 164 or 149 or whatever it is. And
156.
156 was that what it is? I think it's 164, isn't it? It's
It's
the first
164.
Yeah,
You're right.
164.
It's the first.
Yeah.
You got
Right.
it's
That's
all in
right.
the 164. Read the 164. And
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, that's what a thumper is, and they don't give any room for anything other than that whatever their dogmatic view of that book is, which contradicts itself in many different places, just like any other book. Joe says Billy Sunday. So anyway, we're coming up on an hour, so we're going to go ahead and sign off, I guess. But remember, tomorrow, all day long, pretty much, is Euro ICSA.
Yeah, and if you can't sleep tonight, I think it starts at like what 2 a.m. or something like that.
It's
And
like if you're in North America, it's like some ridiculous time, really early in the morning.
so if you
I'm
can't
gonna try to
sleep, there you
go.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to try to go and see what's going on in those early wee morning hours here in North America.
Yeah, I'll be there 9 a.m. Mountain Time. That's about the best I can do.
Like I said, I feel like I owe amends to our British friends because of the problems I gave them with the flyer and all that kind of stuff. But although they told me that they were cool with me, but still, I feel like Anyway, so let's say goodbye with a disco tune. And there you go.
Maybe
So
I
we're
won't be back
again.
after next week. Just
I
kidding.
feel like I need to be sliding over across top of a tree now.
I missed the 1970s so much. Okay, y'all, take care. We'll be back again next Friday for another live stream. Bye-bye, y'all.
Take care. Bye-bye.